right, everybody, welcome to B.O. Boys for Sunday, March 2nd. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, we are live on Oscar Sunday afternoon. So as long as we don't get sidetracked, we will have this episode up so that you could hear later in the episode our Oscar predictions before the Oscars actually take place.
Yes.
So we are dressed in the nines. We're not on YouTube right now because
we're not
dressed
YouTubers right now, huh?
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
But it's because we're dressed so fancily for the Oscars tonight that we didn't think you deserve it.
Yeah, no.
And you're great. Our YouTube fans are great, but there is a level to which they don't deserve to see what we look like on Oscar Sunday.
Yeah.
You'll earn it someday, but not today is not that day.
Mm-mm.
So we're going to talk Oscars later, Clayton, but there was a box office weekend. I know a lot of people might not think it happened, but it did happen. So could you give us a plow for this, I'll say before you even plow, for this pathetic box office weekend of Friday, February 28th, the end of the winter box office?
Number one, Captain America, Brave New World made $15 million, down 47%. It lost 305 theaters. It's at $163.6 million in its third weekend of release. Number two, a newbie, Last Breath, made $7.8 million in its first frame. Number three, The Monkey made $6.3 million, down 55%. It added 27 theaters. It's at $24.6 million in its second weekend. Number four, Paddington in Peru made $4.5 million, down 31%. It lost 185 theaters. It's at $31.3 million in its third weekend of release. Number five, Dogman made $4.2 million, down 28%. It lost 124 theaters. It is at $84 million in its fifth weekend of release. And that is your top five.
Clayton, could you go down? You don't have to go from 6 to 10, but could you tell us what came in number 11 this weekend? Because I do think we are going to have to talk about this as well. What was number 11?
Well, according to Deadline, it was a movie called Riff Raff, but according to the numbers, you really screwed me here, Pat. It was Mobile Suit Gundam GQUUUUUUX Beginning.
Wow. I did not know that. I was not trying to screw you and make you pronounce it, but I'm so glad that that's how it worked out, of course.
You never admit to trying to screw me, but you screwed me.
Yeah.
So this made $916,000 in 784 theaters.
Okay.
And then if we're going by the numbers.
Yeah. Okay, let's go by the numbers.
A Complete Unknown made $904,000 plus 12%, adding 135 theaters. It's at $73.7 million in its 10th weekend of release. And then here comes lucky number 13, Riff Raff by Roadside Attraction, made $901,000 in 1,004 theaters in its first weekend of release. So it either came in at 11 or 13, depending on who you ask, but in both cases, that's terrible.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about Riff Raff because I did not know this movie was coming out. And this movie stars Bill Murray, Pete Davidson, Jennifer Coolidge, Ed Harris,
Gabriel Union,
Bill Pullman's son, who was Bob in Maverick. So you got the Maverick reunion. Riff Raff is a Maverick reunion of Bob and Ed Harris. They are together again. Doesn't seem like they got the Maverick bump. Dead Reckoning Part 1 didn't get the Maverick bump, and Riff Raff didn't get the Maverick bump. So I don't know if we will ever see a Maverick bump from Maverick at this point.
Well, the Maverick bump is, I guess at this point, anybody who got pregnant after or during a screening of Maverick would have had a Maverick bump.
Right. But box office wise, it doesn't
There's
seem
no
like
bump.
we'll ever see a Maverick bump.
No. And all those bumps are gone because that movie came out so long ago.
So long ago. Those
Yeah.
bumps became babies.
You can't
or whatever
be-
else
yeah.
they become.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Right to choose.
Riff Raff. Is this why Bill Murray went on the Joe Rogan podcast? Bill Murray, we've had our ups and downs with him over years. Big up in that he went on there and said he's never heard of Joe Rogan. He asked him, "Are you Joe?" when he walked into the room.
Yes.
That's great. We love that Bill Murray did that. Don't know if we love that he did Riff Raff. And he did a press tour to promote Riff Raff.
Yeah.
Like, that is not the clips that came out of him being on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was mostly the fact that he's never heard of Joe Rogan and looks down on him, which is great.
Yeah.
And that he's still mad that Wired said John Belushi did cocaine. I guess that's still a sticking point, is he didn't do cocaine. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he went on a press tour to promote Riff Raff. Do you understand Bill Murray's movie motivations?
Well, he was contractually obligated. I mean, he's one of the stars. He's probably the star of this movie, so he probably had to do promotion. I mean, I think it's pretty impressive that he got on Joe Rogan for this movie, because Joe Rogan is the biggest podcast out there, probably us second, Joe Rogan first.
Yeah.
But
depending on the week.
But
this was the week for it.
This was the week for it.
Yeah.
Well, because he got the big scoop that Bill Murray hates the Bob Woodward book.
Yes.
Which he's not, I don't think, talked about
in the 40 years since that book came out. I guess Bill Murray's never mentioned it.
Maybe a couple hundred times he's mentioned it. But, maybe in the last 5 years he hasn't.
Yeah. So that's why it's a scoop.
Now it's a scoop. So, I understand why Bill Murray was trying to promote this movie. It's a movie he's starring in.
It is, but this is so clearly barely there's no chance that this movie could ever do anything business-wise. When you look at what this movie is, the fact that it's a co-starring with Pete Davidson situation, that it is a Drowning Mona late 90s style of movie.
Well, that's the issue.
This is a movie that is they're quippy hitmen who then have to kill people for laughs. Mm-hmm. And it's a big cast who are commenting on how much violence there is. I mean, this is such a post-Tarantino next 8 to 10 years of ripping off Tarantino movies type of movie.
This is what to do in Denver when you're dead.
Yeah, it's 2 Days in the Valley.
Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Suicide Kings.
And I think more the Drowning Mona wave of movies where they became very much comedies.
Broad comedies.
Yeah. And I guess, is this a type of movie Bill Murray likes? Because I feel like I've seen him in something else that has this feel that I can't think of. But it's just so weird that Bill Murray, who his whole thing is you can't reach him.
Yeah.
And he's never heard of Seinfeld. There was the interview where he's like, I've never heard of that show. And like, he lives this reclusive life that he's so hard to get a hold of. And yet, this is the movie that he wants to do.
Why are you surprised? He also did St. Vincent. He answers the phone for terrible projects.
Yeah.
He does not have he needs an agent. He needs somebody to vet things.
Yes.
That's the problem, is that he has terrible choice in projects. Other than signing on to Ghostbusters sequels because he needs the money, he does terrible scripts.
Yeah.
Rock the Casbah? Like, when you look at his track record in the last 15 years, he hasn't done a good project.
Yeah,
This isn't Wes Anderson anymore. Like, he answered the phone for Wes Anderson out of luck, I guess, because otherwise he hasn't done good projects.
Yeah, is there a better advertisement for the need for agents than the career of Bill Murray?
Representation
matters.
Is important.
Yeah. Bill Murray's career, Bill Murray's tombstone should have the phrase "representation matters" on it, and it should be used as it should be used in the advertising pitch of every talent agency and management firm that exists.
I'm trying to look through his last few projects. Okay.
Yeah, it's abysmal. This Riff Raff movie. So the director is Dito Montiel, whose big thing is he wrote the book and then directed the movie A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints. So he's a guy, but he's a guy and he directed.
Isn't that
movie.
A ripoff? That's a Tarantino ripoff too.
But at least he wrote the novel, whatever the novel is. He wrote Empire State with The Rock and Emma Roberts. So he's like a low budget guy. But I guess also, is Bill Murray just sort of a B star at best?
Absolutely. If he's not... Okay, so let's look at his career from St. Vincent on, 2014. You know, he did a few cameos, Dumb and Dumber 2, Aloha, I think he was a small part in that. Rock the Casbah, one of the biggest box office bombs ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then he did the Ghostbusters, cameo in Answer the Call. And then it's mostly, he's done some Wes Anderson, which is fine. But then...
And seems to have been replaced by Tom Hanks going forward in the Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah. Dead Don't Die, which is...
He does his Jarmusch's.
Yeah, his Jarmusch's, which they already have a relationship.
Yeah.
And then Ant-Man Wasp, On the Rocks, which is probably the best thing he's done, but has no box office.
Yeah.
That was a Crapple TV Puss when they still sort of were making decent product. And then Riff Raff. Like, Riff Raff's the first thing other than a Wes Anderson or a big budget movie he's done in like 10 years.
Yeah. This Riff Raff trailer, I think we just watched it right before we got on air. So we're coming in hot. Maybe that's why we're seeming a little testy right now. It's because we just endured this trailer.
Mm-hmm. It's an endurance for sure.
And that was painful. And it feels like when you watch this cast, it's one of those movies where you kind of get why an actor would want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always this type of movie will always be attractive to actors, where they get to play a little bad and they get to do the jokes about murders happening in front of them. And like,
they get to shoot a gun.
There's a line in the trailer when Pete Davidson says, "Can't I just torture this guy?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's the type of tone actors just will always be drawn to. Like 4,000 years from now, robots and aliens are taking over the earth, and there's 3 humans left, and those 3 humans will be attracted to a late 90s style Tarantino ripoff movie about quippy hitmen.
Because when else is Pete Davidson going to get to menace somebody with a gun?
Right.
And, not go to jail for it. Right. I mean, like,
right.
I'm actually not putting it past that being a future for Pete Davidson.
Sure.
Where, he's running down the street menacing somebody with a gun.
Yeah. He's young. There's a lot of things.
That can happen. Right. Yeah. But in a safe environment, he gets to play a tough guy with a gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's going to be
also
attractive.
Wearing glasses so that he's not your typical hitman.
No. Because a typical hitman
definitely exists
and looks a very specific way.
Yeah. Actors will always want to play atypical hitmen in dark comedies.
Here's what I'm going to say, Pat.
The last one person alive on Earth, their last thing will be doing a one-man film where they play an atypical quippy hitman.
So we've talked about this, the B.O. Boys movie.
Yeah.
Which is something that will happen.
Has to happen.
We're going to have a scene where we are dressed like the Boondock Saints.
Mm-hmm.
And we have guns.
Yeah.
Because why not? We're on a movie set.
Yeah, you have
We're
to
getting one shot, and it could be a dream sequence or repair, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
But part of us will be like, this is really cool that we're holding guns and we're wearing the Boondock Saints coats.
Right.
And I got a cross tattoo, and whatever. That's going to happen.
It's going to happen. We'll have.
so-
we're not above it.
We're not above it. So we understand
Right
why Pete
now
Davidson
we're above
did
it. But once we have the chance to do it, we will not be above it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We understand we're being hypocritical, but the fact that we are calling out our hypocrisy means we are not bad hypocrites.
Exactly.
We're self-aware hypocrites.
Yeah, if you predict your own hypocrisy, it's fine.
It's fine.
So Bill Murray just wanted to be a Boondock Saint, and that's
Yeah.
why he did Riff Raff with Dito Montiel, and he's like, me and Pete Davidson get to be the Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
This is so effing cool.
This is effing cool.
He's like, I know SNL 50, all that. They'll have me there, but I get to be a Boondock Saint with Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
This is what I want.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of Jennifer Coolidge cashing in her chips on the White Lotus Emmys, which, it makes sense.
She knows she's not going to be the lead of anything.
Right.
You know, no real movie of any consequence. It's just we're not in that. Like, there is a time, you were talking about Drowning Mona. Like, there's a time and place where she could have been a Bette Midler and headlined movies. We don't live in that ecosystem.
Well, I mean, Drowning Mona, Bette Midler did that movie.
Yes.
And Jennifer Coolidge is in the spot as a actor that Bette Midler would have been when she did Drowning Mona.
Bette Midler
Obviously,
was
Bette
the
Midler was a giant
lead
star.
of Drowning Mona.
And
she is
was
not the
Mona.
lead of.
She was Mona.
She was Mona.
Although we haven't seen this movie, I don't know if Jennifer Coolidge plays the character named Riff Raff.
Okay.
Well, it's very possible.
It's a
lot clearer in Drowning Mona
that she is Mona.
In the trailer for Riff Raff, you don't know who's playing Riff, who's playing Raff. It's a first name, last name. We don't know that.
Yeah.
Ed Harris, this is, I mean, it's a good, sign of life.
Mm-hmm.
And especially this week.
Yes, we need this. Yeah. This is his fog up a mirror moment. Role that we need.
Yeah. So it's good to see that Ed Harris is alive on this week.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Riff Raff, and Louis Pullman Bob.
Well, he's going to be in Thunderbolts Asterisk.
Okay. Do you think that he wanted this movie buried before Thunderbolts Asterisk came out?
This movie's done so little. The only people talking about it is us. This does nothing for him.
Is this one of those movies that happens sometimes where no one on earth has talked about the movie Riff Raff as long as we have for the last, we're going on 18 minutes of pretty much talking about Riff Raff. Is there anyone else on the planet who has talked about Riff Raff for this many consecutive minutes?
No, not even Bill Murray, who was on the Joe Rogan podcast that lasts for 3.5 hours. We have talked longer about his project he's promoting than he did.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he had to set the record straight about Wired.
Yes.
That was the most important thing. This was the week for it.
Yeah.
And he's against it. Just so if anybody was questioning whether he was like, that was a great book and everything, and it was accurate, and I think he did John Belushi justice, he does not think highly of the book Wired.
He does not. Okay, thank God then that scoop was gotten.
Or the Michael Chiklis movie version either.
Does not like that.
I'm sure.
Okay. So there we go. So that's Riff Raff. Just does this matter for anyone in the cast? Is this like another? I guess Pete Davidson is Teflon, right? It doesn't matter that Riff Raff bombs. It doesn't matter that, what was the name of his show? Splooge? Bupkis. It doesn't matter that Bupkis is a streamer that came and went. Joe Pesci comes out of retirement to do Bupkis and no one cares. Bill Murray does Riff Raff and the movie finishes 13th place.
I'll tell you what, though. Pesci better do a movie quick, because Bupkis can't be the last thing he does. I'm sorry. You can't say the last thing you did was Bupkis.
There's a
with
lot.
Pete Davidson.
There's a lot of actors who, when they make, older actors, I think if you're 60 and above and you make a movie with Pete Davidson, please have another movie lined up right afterwards so that the Pete Davidson project isn't potentially the last thing that you do.
Yeah.
And it could happen at any time. No matter, we're seeing that this week, no matter how virile you think you are as an actor, no matter how many walks you go on,
how many bike rides to town you take.
it could happen at any time.
Yeah.
So if you
how many undersea architect novels you write.
Yep.
Not architect, I'm sorry, archaeologists. My apologies.
If your last project is with Pete Davidson, please get on set for something else soon after.
Yeah.
Because it could happen at any time, and the Pete Davidson project could be the last thing on your IMDb.
Yes.
So that is Riff Raff. You know, the other movie that came out this weekend kind of just did what we all thought it would do. The Woody Harrelson Simu underwater movie, which of course is called Last Breath. Mm-hmm. I was in the back. I got it. I didn't think I had it. So that did what? 8.6 million, 8.7 million to finish number 2?
It did 7.8, I believe.
7.8. So, Clayton, I think we have to talk about this in the context of an email that we received. Mm-hmm. So we, on our last episode, which was our big spring preview, Jeff Bach 2-hour episode, we really glossed over Last Breath. We just had to get by it. And we did kind of say this was a movie that seemed like such a sure bomb that it should have been a streamer. Mm-hmm. That is what we said. So then...
Well, we didn't all say that.
We did. Okay.
I don't think those words came out of my mouth.
Oh, okay. Well, here we go. So you're already turning things on me, and now we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. So we got this email from wannabe oh boy Nate, and subject was all theatrical is good theatrical. He says, Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller, forever wannabe oh boy, love the New York City show, can't wait for the next tour. All right, so that's the niceties.
Buttering us up.
And then this is what he continues on. In your spring preview episode, you guys mused on the idea and then suggested that Last Breath should have gone straight to streaming. Yikes. Totally agree that Hollywood needs to make better, bolder films. No doubt. But in 2019, there were 112 movies released on 2,000 screens. 2022, there were only 71. And last year, we had 85. We're still off by 24%. When there are over 100 wide release films, no one complains about Last Breath. Until then, we don't want any title going straight to streaming right now. If anything, we need some streaming titles to come to theaters first. To be sure, I'm not advocating for you to talk about why Knives Out should have been a theatrical release, huh? But please stop suggesting that a film shouldn't have been a theatrical release. Not every movie will be a hit, but the box office needs all the titles they could get. Smell ya, Nate. Mm-hmm. So he buttered us up. Mm-hmm. Loved the live tour. He can't wait to the next one, blah, blah, blah. And then he used the word yikes to describe something that we said. Use the word yikes.
Yeah. He was right. He was right about yikes. I mean, I think those words didn't come out of my mouth.
Okay. We don't, you're just saying that.
But listen, those words didn't. Can you let me finish for a second? Because here's
you're
what I'm
putting
saying.
Words in my mouth.
The words didn't come out of my mouth, right? But I sat idly by while the words came out of other people's mouths. And I would say that's just as bad. Because I sat by and let you and Jeff Bach talk about how this movie should have gone to streaming. And, you know, I'll be honest. I was looking ahead to the preview. I was thinking ahead. I wasn't aware of what you guys were saying. And that's on me. I should have stood up and I should have said, excuse me, fellas, we can't have these movies go to streaming, because what is our party line on this? Is that even if it's a movie that we don't think is going to do particularly well in theaters, that's still great advertising for when it goes on a streamer, right?
Okay, I got to stop you because...
Well, I was already done, so you didn't stop me.
You said it. No, you were going to continue, and it was going to go on forever.
I stopped, and I said what I was going to say.
People were going to start tuning out. So
you did not stop me.
So
I stopped myself.
Luckily stopped you before everyone turned the dial to another station.
I was not stopped.
You said it. You said it. Go into the tapes. Pull out the tapes. Christopher, find the clip and get it on our socials. Immediately stop whatever you're doing. I don't care if you're writing a paper. I don't care if you're at a job interview. Christopher,
well, he's at
go
a
back
kegger.
into the last, or if you're at a kegger, tell whoever's holding your
mid-keg
feet
stand, yep,
to flip you back onto your feet so you can run out of that party and go to the spring preview episode, get the clip where Clayton said, this should be a streamer, because I know I'm looking right now. We are in the same room. We are not in two different houses on a StreamYard. We are across from a table. I'm looking you in the eyes. You fucking said it. You said this should go to streaming.
You know definitively that this is the case.
If anything, I'm the one who stood idly by, and I'm the one who should have said something and stopped you from talking the way I just stopped you a minute ago.
I was not stopped.
Great. I should have stopped you then the way I just stopped you now, because you were the one saying those words. And I was the one who was distracted and bored by what you were saying and thinking of other things when I shouldn't have been. I should have been listening, and I should have been stopping you, because you said this movie should have gone straight to streaming.
I did not say those words. I was the one bored by what you were saying. All right? I mean...
Well, now, to be clear, we both loved whatever Jeff Bach was saying.
Of course.
Of course.
It was like, here's what. Jeff Bach talking. Interesting.
Both
Pat
interesting.
talks. Meh, 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 meh.
Okay,
right?
no,
I'm looking
captivating.
at my screen because I'm trying to look ahead to April. I'm trying to look ahead. So that's obviously, like, he comes on, he's dynamite. Okay?
Yeah, Jeff is dynamite.
We just need to go to the tape. I mean, I think that's the thing is we need to go to the tape, because, I mean, I know that I sat idly by. You think you sat idly by.
Yeah.
There is an answer to this.
In fact, now that it was not, you may think you sat idly by.
Yeah.
When you were talking, I was sick. And that is what happened. It
well,
wasn't
sick with
sick
what I
of
said.
what you were saying. And
sickened by what I said.
Sickened by what you said, to the point where I had to go to a bucket for some portion of whatever you were saying. And that is why I didn't stop you from saying that last breath should have been a streamer, the way I stopped you from talking 2 minutes ago, and it was glorious, and everyone who listens to this loved that I stopped you. I should have stopped you then.
Stopped on my own volition.
You made me sick by what you were saying. You made me sick.
Okay, let me stop you. Because
I was done.
You were not done. You were going to keep going. We know you were going to keep going. Everybody who listens knows you're going to keep going.
I hit a pause. I know what the last word of what I'm about to say is before I start saying the first word. So I knew that I was done.
Okay, Pat, let me stop you. I think the only reason that we're confused is because we just weren't listening to each other, which is perfectly fine. And that happens on this show more than you would think. Mm-hmm. Because most of the time we're very good at pretending that we're listening to each other.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's just got to be, we go to the tape. We go to the tape, and then whoever sat idly by, also at fault, but the person who actually said it, more at fault.
More at fault. Yes.
Yeah. More at fault.
Yeah. As long as the tape shows that you were the one who said it and I was the one who didn't stop you because I was sickened and should have stopped you the way I stopped you today.
But we can just say, Nate, thank you so much. This is a guy who is a wannabe a boy who had not spoken out before, and he didn't sit idly by. He stood up, and he said, I mean, he greased our holes a little bit, which is good. That's how you have to do. Because if you came straight out and was like, yikes, guys, you fucked up, we'd be like, go F yourself, Nate.
Yes.
Right? We don't care that you're a long-time listener, and this is your first time, and this is what you wanted to spend your one shot at glory on.
Yeah, it would have been a delete, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. We wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah.
But Nate, you did what you needed to do. You greased their holes, and then you stood up. Thank you so much for this. And yeah, whoever it was, which it was you, who said
who was
to go to a streamer.
While you said this,
who said this should go to a streamer, negligent, but we were both negligent. But one person was more negligent, way more negligent. And the person who spoke was way more negligent. The person who wasn't paying attention really didn't have a chance to say anything because they weren't paying attention.
Exactly.
And that person was me.
Fault. Yeah.
That person was me.
No,
the person was me who was not paying attention.
Who said all those things?
Who wasn't paying attention. Anyway, we have to go to the shape. Anyway, we'll go to the tape, and I have to stop you because we need to go to.
I was already stopped.
This Captain America movie. Can we talk about this?
I mean, what else is there to say about this Captain America movie?
It's trending. It's doing better than Quantumania, but barely.
Right.
I guess that's success.
Yeah. It's the bar for these has become lower the last few years.
Yeah.
I guess they need to get the budgets down to the height of these bars is the problem.
Yeah.
Is that these movies are not going to do as well, other than a couple of specific characters, are not going to do as well as they did 5+ years ago.
Yeah.
So they just have to budget them the same way. But you know what? It's good for the theaters because at least there is something that brought a bunch of people in to buy concessions the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think that we've pushed for this, and I think it needs to happen because I think we would be less down on Marvel movies in general if we saw the popcorn numbers, if we saw the Jujubee numbers, if we saw the Whopper numbers. We would be less down on them if we saw MCU fans buy more concessions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they don't buy concessions, then we're like, oh my God, these movies stink even worse than we thought they did.
Yeah.
But I think that's something we need to see. And you're right about these budgets. And the thing is, they don't look good.
They don't look
so
good,
it's not like we're telling James Cameron to lower the budget on his Avatar movies.
Right.
We're saying, these look like shit. You can do this for cheaper.
Right.
And they'll look the same. Mm-hmm. So just do it.
Right. Yeah, the Brutalist, that budget has been talked about a lot. And we'll get into the Oscars in a bit. That they made that movie for $10 million and it looked great. But of course, they filmed it like in Eastern Europe and it was mostly slave labor crew and all that. But Marvel's doing the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. They have those
Marvel's spending
VFX people chained up.
Yeah. They're spending 20 times the budget of the Brutalist, but they're in a sound stage in Romania, like 3 blocks down from where the Brutalist filmed. Mm-hmm. So why do these Marvel movies look this bad? The concessions numbers, I do think that at this stage in what the Marvel audience is, where it is really the hardcores, the broader general audience isn't going as much anymore.
Yeah.
I do think that they would be motivated if the concession numbers were public to buy even more concessions, because I feel like the people who go see Captain America Brave New World want to go out of their way to pump up this movie.
Yeah.
And I think if they knew their concessions numbers were public, they would eat themselves sick.
Yes.
Just to help their favorite comic book studio.
Yeah.
Like, I think the people who went to see this movie opening weekend would order like 4 times as much popcorn if they thought that number would actually be public and then help get more Marvel movies made.
Absolutely.
So take advantage of them. Release those numbers. Let the Marvel fans eat themselves sick to help their favorite executives.
And so before we get to the Oscars real quick, The Monkey, number 3, down 55%. It added a few theaters, 24.6. I mean, didn't break out. Wasn't a huge plummet. I mean, horror movies usually drop. Although Long Legs did drop in the high 40s, not the mid 50s. But again, this isn't Long Legs. This is a horror comedy. So good, low budgeted hit. Not going to break out. It's not going to be Megan. It's not going to be, anything like that. But it's not a disaster.
No, definitely not.
It's a success. It's a big neon film.
Yeah.
Which they need more of.
Yeah. And it helps Anthony Perkins' son, I think, just to have another, he had a quick follow-up. This is less than a year after Long Legs, and he's going to have a movie that is making 3 times its budget at the box office. So I think this is a solid follow-up for him. And I do think the next pure horror thing he does will be a bigger deal. I think Oz Perkins' next movie is just a straight-up horror movie, and I bet you that does, if not Long Legs numbers, definitely does better than The Monkey did.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
So let's get into the Oscars.
Let's do it.
So the Oscars is tonight. We're all dressed up. We're excited for it. Let's just get it. We're only going to talk about the top couple of categories. We're not we're not predicting short films and costume and all that.
Yeah.
So the acting categories, which ones are sewn up? Which ones do you say there's not even worth discussing anymore?
Supporting.
Both supporting.
Both supporting.
There's no one. I mean, Kieran Culkin's going to win supporting actor. Is there any scenario in which anyone else wins supporting actress?
Isabella maybe has a shot if Conclave is bigger than we expect. I think Ariana does not have a shot here because she's not an Oscar. She would have won it like SAG.
Yeah.
She's not going to win an Oscar out of the blue.
Yeah.
So I think Isabella Rossellini is the only possibility, and that to me feels so out of the box.
It's a shame, and we'll talk about this for Best Picture too. It's a shame that the Pope on his deathbed situation didn't happen a month ago.
I know. Because
I do think that would have swayed a lot of voters towards Conclave in these categories.
I think so, yeah.
It is a shame that he didn't care enough about the Oscar race, Pope Francis, to accelerate his situation, his illness.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm sure he's got the power to do as a pope.
Yeah.
I don't know if
he's got a direct line to God.
Yeah.
So he couldn't be like, come on.
Let's help Isabella.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that would have been enough in supporting actress?
I don't think it's enough in supporting actress.
So it's like
I just
Pope,
don't.
If the Pope had been on his deathbed a month ago, as the Amelia Perez actress tweets were hitting, if that had happened at the same time during voting, you still don't think that gets Isabella Rossellini supporting actress?
No, because this is going to be like a theme of our predictions and our talk about the Oscars, is that Zoe Saldana has made people a lot of money in this town with the Marvel movies. And Isabella Rossellini is a beloved actor who's done great work, but she's not making significant money for the town and will not pass this.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's also an element of Zoe Saldana is still somebody that you could slap a Oscar winner title on and headline a movie, and it will, if not significantly, make people more interested and willing to buy, at least more so than Isabella Rossellini, who's not going to have an old person action film around her.
Yes, she's not going to do a Taken style movie.
Yeah, where Zoe Saldana is not at that level age-wise yet, but still it's like we'll get to Best Actress. I mean, there's an actor in that category that really could do a movie like Liam Neeson and make some major dough off the back of this Oscar.
So supporting actress Zoe Saldana is a lock. Supporting actor Kieran Culkin is a lock. There's no Ed Norton path for supporting actor at this point. It would have happened at SAG.
It would have happened at SAG, yeah.
And there's no controversy. Kieran Culkin missing those couple of award shows to rehearse for his play. That didn't turn anyone off.
No, they love that. They love that he's an actual actor who does, stage.
Yeah. They love that he doesn't go to award shows because he's got to hang out with Bill Burr. So they were into that.
Well, and Bob Odenkirk.
I guess at this point they know who he is.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's get into actress. Because it's basically either going to be Demi Moore or Mikey Madison.
You think Fernando Torres has no shot?
I think she has no shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fake. I get that the movie was a surprise Best Picture nominee, but she was in the fifth slot.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's real. I think it's Mikey Madison or Demi Moore.
Yeah,
because there's been no backlash against Demi Moore.
Yes.
Where she would sneak in there.
The only thing I worry is she gets Stallone. And I know
you keep bringing that up.
Your argument with Stallone is that people didn't like him.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with him not winning the Oscars. They got to the precipice and were like, are we really going to give the guy who doesn't let the crew look at him, the guy who apparently shits on glass tables
With hookers underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Is this a guy
which for them is work?
Which is, yeah, absolutely.
That is work,
yeah,
sure.
Work is, work is
But
work.
I don't know if the Academy loves rewarding his side of that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They're on one side, and that work is work.
Yeah.
But Stallone, on the side he has of that glass table, may have cost him the Oscar.
But here's the thing:
the Academy knew about his side of that work.
And there's a lot of progressiveness in the Academy now because look, someone like Mikey Madison, who played a worker like that. That scene just wasn't in the movie, but it's happened that she was under that table at some point.
Okay.
That character, right? They're thinking of maybe giving her a Best Actress award, right?
But the Stallone thing again is the fact that in real life people hated him.
Yes.
Who were voting on the Oscar.
Yes, and they were like, we're not going to give him the satisfaction of giving him an Oscar because he treated us so poorly.
Yeah.
There's no stories like that with Demi Moore. Demi Moore, for all intents and purposes, was a person who made a lot of money for this city, for this town, has a great narrative where she's like, hey, I didn't think I'd ever have a shot at this, and now I do. Mm-hmm. Everybody in that crowd wants that for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So she hasn't done anything to fumble that.
Right.
But there is a level of, is she a good enough actor for us to give her this award?
But here's the thing. 2 years ago, we sat here and we watched the Academy give a Best Actor to Brendan Fraser.
That's true.
And Brendan Fraser, pre The Whale, has definitely been in much worse projects than Demi Moore has ever been in. Like Brendan Fraser's probably best Academy-style movie he'd ever been in.
Gods and Monsters.
Well, Gods and Monsters, and then Crash, which won Best Picture, but is regarded as one of the worst Best Picture winners ever.
Yeah.
Demi Moore was in Ghost. She was the co-lead of Ghost. She was, at worst, third billed in A Few Good Men. Mm-hmm. So she was in schlocky things, like Your Disclosure, like stuff that was a hit. Striptease. But she was in Best Picture early 90s prestige-y movies.
Yeah.
And they just gave Brendan Fraser an Oscar.
Yeah.
And he was the star of Monkey Bone.
Yeah.
And Dudley Do-Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's going to get Stalloned because, again, I think Stallone specifically means they just didn't like this person. And I don't think she's actually looked at as someone who is too schlocky to vote for.
No.
Because in her big run, she also was in several Best Picture nominees.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is that Mikey has gone on the awards trail and not popped in any significant way.
No.
It doesn't seem like she's somebody who you could build a project around past this. And we're also not in the same ecosystem where she would get a shot, but also she hasn't broken out in a way that you're like, oh, she's got something.
Yes.
And she doesn't seem like somebody who, if you put an Oscar on her, she's going to make money for Hollywood by being the lead.
Yes.
Where, like we were saying, Demi Moore, you put an Oscar on her, all of a sudden, this old person action movie has an Oscar winner in it.
Right.
And that would mean something to the people who go see those movies. So that's why I think they're voting for Demi Moore.
Yes, there's more dollar potential with Demi Moore having an Oscar tomorrow than there is with Mikey Madison having an Oscar tomorrow.
Yeah.
And listen, we're dollars and cents guys. And I do think more people vote with dollars and cents in mind than you actually think.
Yes, absolutely. Because they want to work with people that will make them money. And if they give them an Oscar, they can say, hey, guess what? I voted for you.
Right. Right. Whereas, do you really need that to get Mikey Madison in your next movie?
No.
Yeah, I agree. I think she just hasn't popped on the awards trail in the way that I know he didn't win the Oscar, but like Austin Butler did.
Austin Butler got so much closer to winning that Oscar than he had any right to because He was an up-and-coming star. He glad-handed. He charmed people. And at the end of the day, they were like, he's maybe a little bit too young, and we still can't give it to him, but it was close.
Yeah.
It was way closer than it should have been.
Yeah. And is there anyone else, an actress other than Fernanda Torres, who has any potential to be a spoiler here?
Revo has won nothing.
Yeah, Revo's won nothing.
If anything, they're holding that back for the next installment.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's saying is Ariana and her will get nominations next year, and that's when they might have a shot.
Yeah.
But right now, there's nobody else in this category. I mean, Carla's out of it. She's going to be there.
Carla Gascon is the other one. Wow, yeah.
Went from probably top 3 to the very bottom.
Yeah, to the point where she is causing them to lose other categories they were going to win.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we're both on Demi Moore. So we're both on the same page on those 3 categories. So Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one where if we apply the dollars and cents rule in their voting, because it's basically Timothée Chalamet for Complete Unknown or Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. Those are the only ones that could win. Ralph Fiennes again, do you think if the Pope was on his deathbed a month ago when they were in the middle of Oscar voting, could that have vaulted Ralph Fiennes into contention for Best Actor?
I feel like he could have been in the conversation. The biggest problem with Ralph Fiennes is he did not campaign.
Yeah.
And they need you to campaign.
Yeah.
They want you to want them.
Yeah. And he didn't play the Pope in Conclave.
He didn't.
I think that's
he didn't want to be voted Pope. He was like, don't vote. And that's how it feels like he's been campaigning.
Right.
Don't give me this.
Right. And you could see the logic to that as a campaign strategy. So in Conclave, Ralph Fiennes' character keeps saying, I don't want to be the Pope. Don't vote for me.
Yeah.
In then his real life, Ralph Fiennes did not campaign for this, basically saying, don't vote for me. And as a strategy, there's something to that.
The modesty, humble strategy.
Well, the modesty, the humble, and the fact that it's like, hey, look, I'm still playing the character.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep I am into this role, that the way my character didn't campaign for Pope, I'm not campaigning for Best Actor. Therefore, I am the best at this. You should vote for me for the Oscar and also make me Pope.
Yeah, it is.
There's
a
logic to it.
But that's a mind game that most of the hairdressers who vote for the Oscars are too dense to really catch on.
Yeah. It's a real 6D chess that he was playing here.
Yeah.
So he's out. It's Adrian Brody or Timmy. I mean, if we apply the dollars and cents rule of tomorrow, you wake up and Adrian Brody has his second Oscar or Timothée Chalamet has his first. Who's going to make you more money? This is not even close.
Not even close. Because who was it? We were talking about this at the BOHQ. Was it Sean Fennessy? Was it on The Big Picture?
I don't know. Or was it Baloney?
It would have been Baloney.
I don't know.
I think it was Fennessy.
There's been a lot of other Oscar shows trying to do what we're doing this week.
I think it was Fennessy who said about Adrian Brody that he does direct to PVOD action movies.
Okay, yeah.
And so that is, with this movie, an undeniably great performance. But at the end of the day, he's not going to be a guy that you put a second Oscar on and that's going to somehow take him out of the PVOD hell.
Right.
He's still going to end up being on a prestige TV show, if that still exists. He's still going to be in a John Travolta action movie next year.
I mean, or he also might be Tracker Las Vegas on CBS.
True. Yes, absolutely. That's his trajectory.
I think Adrian Brody could win the second Oscar and still in a year be playing Tracker Las Vegas.
Yeah. But if you put Oscar winner Timothée Chalamet, youngest Oscar winner, a guy who is making money, who has revolutionized the Oscar trail.
Yeah.
He's not just going to the luncheons and shaking hands. He's going on College Game Day.
Yeah.
He's going on Nardwuar.
Yeah.
He's doing these things that are the new way to go about campaigning. He's revolutionizing what young people can do to campaign for this. And that needs to be rewarded. And you put that Oscar on him, the next movie he does, the next adult prestige movie he does makes bank at the box office. And you got to look at this Bob Dylan thing. This movie, I know James Mangold is a known director, got the nom. He has made hits in the past. This movie is over 100 million worldwide.
Yeah.
It's
domestic.
at 73.
Yep.
Domestic. This Bob Dylan movie without Chalamet makes $11 million and nobody talks about it.
Right. If this is Lewis Pullman as Bob Dylan.
Pat, if this is Adrian Brody, this thing makes $300,000 and it drops on Tubi.
Yeah. If you switch them in these roles, and it would have been Timmy as the brutalist and Adrian Brody as Bob Dylan, 100%.
The brutalist makes 50.
Yeah, the brutalist, he gets the brutalist to 50.
Yeah.
And the second half is better. So, yeah, if the voters are voting that way, voting with their own pockets in mind, who's going to make me money? Who's going to pay my mortgage?
Yeah.
It's got to be Timmy.
It's Timmy.
Because Adrian Brody will be a Redbox guy next week.
Yeah.
Whether he's got the... And again, he's a great actor. He's great in The Brutalist.
Yeah.
This isn't a knock on his ability, but he is a Redbox guy.
Yeah.
And a prestige streamer now and Tracker Las Vegas. But he's not going to be a movie star with the second Oscar. Give him a third Oscar next year. He's still not going to be a movie star.
No.
And the other thing is, this year, I can't imagine it's going to be chalk all the way through when everything is so close this year. So there's got to be a bit of, and Chalamet would be the upset, but I think this is where the upset's got to happen.
Chalamet winning SAG is such a huge indicator of where this is going.
Yeah.
And because, 18 out of the last 20 or something along that line, 16 out of the last 20, something.
Best actor, if you win SAG, you win Best Actor.
Yeah. And I think that the momentum was going in his direction. Now, again, we have to mention SNL 50th. We have to mention Adrian Brody in the In Memoriam that Tom Hanks, a forever movie star, introduces. Here's an In Memoriam, but not for people, for things we can't do anymore, sketches we're like, what happened?
Yeah. Offensive characters.
Yeah. And Adrian Brody's famous Jamaica Man character made that, was a prominent part of it. And of course, we know Timmy is a beloved host now. He's one of the guys who they bring back every year. That was Lorne saying, vote for Timmy.
Yeah.
Don't vote for this fool.
Don't vote for Jamaica Man.
Jamaica Man's the old guard. Jamaica Man is a mistake.
Yep.
Timmy is now.
Yep.
And I think that probably was the difference maker.
And that SNL 50 audience, the actual people who were sitting in those seats.
Yeah.
They saw Jamaica Man, and these are not just people who won a lottery to go see the show.
No, this is Ricky Lindholm.
This is Ricky Lindholm's out there. She is influencing the Academy voters.
Yeah.
And Keith Richards is there.
Yeah.
Keith Richards walks out of SNL 50, and all he's talking about is, how the fuck are you supposed to vote for Jamaica Man?
Yeah. Come on, guys.
I've done a lot in my day.
Yeah.
Keith Richards, he's got the audience at the SNL 50 after party.
Yeah.
And they've shut the music off to listen to what Keith has to say. And he said, I have done a lot in my life that I'm not proud of.
He's climbed a tree and fallen out of it trying to grab a coconut.
Yeah. And I've done a lot that I'm not proud of, but I have never done Jamaica Man.
No.
And if you people, I don't have a vote because I'm not an actor, but I am a star.
Yeah.
And if you people use your vote to vote for Jamaica Man, it's a disgrace.
Yeah.
And you hear that from Keith Richards, you're going to vote for Jamaica Man?
It's a disgusting act.
I think that he did finally lose it that night when Jamaica Man played in the montage.
Because SAG, I mean, the tide turned. He had gotten everything. Then you see Jamaica Man.
Yeah.
And everybody's broken out of their lull of, oh wow, this guy deserves it, blah blah blah. Now they're like, We can't give an Oscar. We can't give 2 Oscars to this guy.
Yeah.
Right? And Timmy is going to win the day. I think it's going to be Timmy.
Okay, so we're both on Timmy will win.
Yeah.
Best actor. Best director, it's Sean Baker for Nora, Brady Corbet, The Brutalist. They the only ones with a chance? Do you think that the only Substance was a
that's
Corey
the only
Farjad?
other that's the only other person who has at least a touch of a chance, but there's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way.
So it's a Nora or The Brutalist for best director. You're sitting there across from me, and unfortunately we don't have the cameras rolling, so you can't see this
full
on
tuxedo.
YouTube. But we're both in full tuxedos. But even with that, you're wearing that fucking cap.
I know.
That fucking black wool knit cap and whatever you've got going on with the hair situation. So you are in full. This is what you're in tuxedo. I am looking across at what Brady Corbet will look like tonight.
Let me ask you a question, Pat.
Yeah.
Let me stop you.
Sure.
Would you vote for this?
Absolutely not.
There we go.
Absolutely not.
Sean Baker.
Absolutely not. Sean Baker will win Best Director.
You wouldn't vote for this.
I will never vote for this.
Yeah.
And I can't. He really hurt his chances with his campaign. This Brady Corbett's Oscar campaign, I think, was a disaster.
It was a disaster. And you know when he lost it? When he pulled out his iPhone to do a speech.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you what, Angela Bassett pulled out her iPhone, lost the Oscar to Jamie Lee Curtis because she used her iPhone. Brady Corbett used his iPhone. Do not use your iPhone for any speech.
Yeah.
You will lose the Oscar. You will not win an Oscar if you go to one of these award shows beforehand and pull out your phone and do your speech.
Yeah. Yeah.
Write it down on a fucking piece of paper.
Yeah. Because that was the Golden Globes. Corbett
Yep.
won Best Director, uses iPhone.
And nothing's been the same since then.
Yeah. Okay, so Sean Baker wins this for Nora. He should have won Best Director for Red Rocket, but they never win for their best movie. So
yes,
he wins it here. So Best Picture. Is there a split? Does he get Director for Nora and then something else wins Best Picture? Or does it Nora win both?
No, it is a split.
It's a split because you think
Conclave will win Best Picture. I've thought it all season long. Go back on several media outlets. I have said from the very beginning of this race, before nominations, Conclave was going to win Best Picture. Mm-hmm. And now it's a 2-dog race between Nora and Conclave. And I think Conclave is going to take it.
Wow.
They're going to give the Best Picture award to a porno movie, Pat. This is what you think.
This is the big one where I really wish the news about the Pope's decline had come out during the voting period.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it gets Isabella Rossellini supporting actress. I don't know if it would have got Ralph Fiennes Best Actor. But if 2 or 3 weeks ago we knew that the Pope was in his last minutes and they were voting for Best Picture, I do think that would have got Conclave over the top. Do you think that if the voting period was open while the Pope was dying, the producers of Conclave would have been able to get a photo op where the cast was around his bedside?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. I mean, this movie worldwide made 99. Wish it would have gotten to 100. But played like gangbusters on Peacock.
Yep.
Okay. Honora did short at the box office. Did nothing at the box office.
Did nothing, yeah.
The first part of it is a porno, which, listen, I loved Red Rocket. Red Rocket should have won Best Picture its year, and Simon Rex should have won Best Actor. Mm-hmm. So I'm not against porno.
Right.
Okay? But I don't think this is the year for a porno to win Best Picture.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing.
Have you seen this film, though, Honora?
Well, listen, I know what porno is. Okay. And I've seen things like it. I've seen a lot of things like it.
Okay.
So I know what porno is. And this is a porno, and that's fine. I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. Are the Oscars ready to give a porno movie Best Picture? I don't think they are. Not yet. There will be a day where pornos will win Best Picture. This ain't it. This ain't the year for it. This ain't the week for it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the porno thing, because I would say I do push back on this being a porno.
Okay.
Compared to porno.
Okay.
I mean, I agree with you that someday a porno will win Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Anora is leading to that itself. Yeah. But I do think that
you're having a hard time.
I'm having a hard time going with this. I think mostly because I know this has been your pick.
I have faith, Pat.
And I kind of don't want you to be right.
Of course you don't.
And
but you think it's going to be Conclave. You do.
I'm going to go with my pick is Anora will win Best Picture.
Great. So I'm picking the beautifully shot movie about faith,
right,
and the strength of faith. And you are...
you're going to say it, but I don't think this is... I don't know
and you're pulling for a porno.
Here's where...
Listen, there's just so much porno to watch that I haven't got around to it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I would have thought that you had watched... You're such a porn addict that you would never look at something like Anora as being anywhere in the same category of what you watch all the time, 20 waking hours a day in that while you're wearing that fucking cap. So I guess I'm a little surprised that you're doing the Anora as a porno thing as someone who is such an avid nonstop pornography watcher.
I mean, listen, I know it when I see it or when I hear it described.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You haven't seen Anora yet.
Yeah.
So I've seen
I've read the title. I've read like the description of it underneath the thumbnail, and so I know it's a porno.
But yeah, I think you need to watch some of this movie at some point.
No, I don't, because it's not going to win Best Picture, so there's no reason to watch it.
If it wins tonight, will you watch it? If it wins Best Picture tonight,
I'll watch the first half, because the first half is the porno half.
Okay. So yeah, it's good we're splitting on this.
Yeah.
So that there is the opportunity for yelling at each other on the next episode.
I think the last one that we have to choose on air is Best Animated. Only because we made such a big deal about Wild Robot and its chances, and whether or not the creative team of Wild Robot will thank the Terrifier 3 team.
They're not going to do it.
For doing, for the symbiotic, one-way symbiotic relationship where people would buy a ticket for Wild Robot and then sneak into Terrifier 3.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're going to get a chance to, because I think Flo's going to win.
Okay. Now, I don't know anything about Flo. I haven't seen any of these animated films. Based on the fact that you're basically calling everything a porno, is Flo a porno?
No.
To you? It's not. Okay.
No. I'm not calling everything a porno. I'm calling Anora a porno.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen any of these. I hope Wild Robot wins because it's a hit.
Yeah.
And it did help the box office a lot in the fall. So I'm pulling for Wild Robot.
Yeah. And I think that's the box office choice. But I think on this one, they may go with Flo, unfortunately.
One other category, does Diane Warren finally win Best Song?
No way, because the thing is, they don't show who the writer is of the songs on the ballot. So I don't think people know that she wrote this song.
Really?
Yeah.
On the ballot that the Academy voters get, they don't see the name of the person who would win the Oscar. They just see the name of the song and the movie it's from?
I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. But I don't think people know that this is Diane Warren.
Wow. Okay. So they would have to, according to your intel, they'd have to vote just based on the name of the song and the name of the movie.
And here's my take on that. We know, we've talked about this previously, that it's terrible what they're doing to her. It's a prank.
Yeah.
It's a long-standing prank that Hollywood, there's different political views, there's different beliefs going on that they're fighting over. But the one thing they can agree on is that we're going to nominate her every year and we're not going to give her the award.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this year where there's such a toss-up between everything, right? There's such a toss-up between who's going to win Best Actor, Actress, Picture. All these categories are up in the air. The one thing they can all agree on and giggle about together and agree on and laugh about in the locker room is that Diane Warren is, again, going to lose. Because people get in shouting matches about, I still think that Amelia Perez should have won, and I think blah, 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 blah. What about Wicked? Blah, 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 blah. But then they can be like, okay, let's calm down. Let's talk about Diane Warren. We're both not voting for her, right? And then they slap hands and they're friends again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a unifying thing for Hollywood to play this massive prank on this cranky old woman.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any culmination of the prank that could happen on tonight's telecast. Because is the prank to just do this every year and she doesn't win and then you move on and you do it again? Because at some point then she is just going to pass away. And that, listen, this is the week that reminds us all, no matter how young you are, tragedy could strike, and it could strike to Diane Warren. And that would just be a puttering out of this Hollywood-wide prank of Diane Warren. Is there any year where they finally culminate the prank and she wins and it leads to, trapdoor on the stage that they have set up and she falls through?
Pig's blood.
Yeah, pig's blood from the ceiling on Diane Warren's head when she does the acceptance speech. Like, I do think even if it is a prank, at some point they'll need her to win to really finalize the prank.
Yeah. I mean, she won an honorary one, which doesn't count. She still wants to win a competitive, you can tell. So, yeah, I mean, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
You think they have a few, they're like so confident. Diane Warren has so many years left that we could keep doing the prank where she doesn't win.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get to the end of the prank where we let her win, and then we have, a bear release to maul her on stage.
Or she wins posthumously, and that's the end of the prank. Is that they give it to her, and she's not alive to enjoy it. I think that could be the capper.
Yeah.
So whatever year it is that she passes, they give her the
Oscar
the next year.
Yeah. Listen. Obviously, we have a direct line to Hollywood. Everyone who matters is listening to the B.O. Boys right now. If you're on the committee that leads the Diane Warren Oscar prank, I would throw my vote in to not do the ending where she wins the posthumous Oscar a year later. I would rather see her win the Oscar when she's alive and do the finale to the prank on stage.
Yeah.
Trapdoor, pig's blood from the ceiling, release a bear, whatever it is. Even, it doesn't even have to be that. Let's Sandman from the Apollo sweeps her off stage. Whatever you have planned as a possible finale to the prank, go with the version where she wins rather than the version where it's the posthumous Oscar. I feel like that's a wet
posthumous.
Fart. To me, that's a wet fart.
It's just so much funnier.
I don't think so. I think that the joke needs to happen with her still alive, which is why I do think tonight's going to be the night.
You're going for it.
I think Diane Warren wins the Oscar tonight, and we do finally get to see the culmination of the prank.
All right.
And I hope that happens because I'd love to talk about that on the next episode.
Because then on stage they've taken apart her car from the parking lot and they've reconstructed it indoors. So then she has to figure out how to get home.
Yes.
That's the prank.
Yeah.
Is that someone drives in with her car and she's like, "How'd you get my car in here?" And they're like, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Tom Hanks, anybody
Anthony Hopkins,
took this apart and put it back together. They're all covered in grease. And they're like, we don't know how it happened. And they're all covered in grease.
Is Clooney the most likely chairman of the committee for the Diane Warren prank? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a prankster.
Yeah.
He loves a good prank.
Yeah. So George Clooney, do the prank tonight when she is alive. Give her the Oscar. do the prank. Let us see the culmination of the prank on stage. So that is the culmination of our episode. Email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, we love getting your emails. And as you saw from Nate, if you've got an argument that you want to pick with us, you want to point out something that you don't think we said correctly, you got to start by buttering our holes in the first half of the email. And then we'll get to what you said, because that's how you have to do it with us.
But if you come in dry and you try to get raw,
delete, go fuck yourself. That's what happens. So email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, we are YouTubers. Hey, guys. So subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to the Substack. I think we're going to have a post-Oscars reaction article. So subscribe to the Substack for that. We will give our takes on the Academy Awards on the Substack. Of course, follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Wanna BO VP of Interns Christopher, killing it with the vertical clips. So follow us there. And 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And I think that's it, Clayton. I got nothing left.
Pat, I've finished. You've said it all. There's nothing left to be said.
All right, great. So I can
Except for, until next time, we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it.